Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Leslie, and today I really wanted to try to do a new kind of video to mark a beginning in a new chapter of my channel. When I started my channel, I did not do an intro video, like a get to know me video, because I wasn't comfortable speaking on the camera then. And you can watch my very first video, there's no speaking in there, it's just footage and music. And I feel like I'm in a place where I'm more comfortable with talking to the camera and opening up and letting people see my personality. And I just want people to be able to connect more with me. Yeah, I want you to keep coming back for more videos. So I'm trying something new today. I'm gonna be doing my makeup while I answer some questions that I got from Instagram. I posted on my Instagram for people to send me some questions. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, you should probably do that now. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you keep coming back to my videos and you're not subscribed yet, side eye. First things first, my name is Lesley Chinery. That's my full name. I have an extra name, Farida, too, but that's not on my birth certificate, but it's still a name I hold dearly to me. I am 23 years old. My birthday is in March, so I'm a Pisces. I'm a Leo moon, Pisces sun, and Sagittarius rising, if that means anything to you. But yeah. I am from Ghana. I'm born to Ghanaian parents. But I was born in the United States. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, and I grew up in Ghana. I did all of my schooling in Ghana, from kindergarten all the way to high school. I did in Ghana, and then in 2017 I moved to the US for college. I've always been interested in fashion. The first career I wanted to pursue was fashion design. At some point I was also interested in going to culinary school, but I watched a lot of, my family had DSTV. The Americans might not understand this, but DSTV is, I don't know how to explain it, but basically that's how we were able to get like channels like Disney, BET, E, Style Network. Like the American channels were able to watch them through DSTV. At least I was able to watch them through DSTV. And I remember watching a lot of Style Network and Food Network growing up. And so that's where the interest in fashion and culinary arts began. My mom just also has been a stylish person my whole life. I used to help my mom pick out her outfits for work. And my sister and I have a sister. I'm the first child and I have a younger sister. We were those kids who had matching outfits. Like that's how my mom dressed us up growing up. So you knew we were sisters. We used to wear matching outfits and everything. So I've just been aware of fashion a little bit more. When I was in Ghana as well, in primary school and JHS, which is junior high school, I studied home economics, and part of that involved garment construction and sewing. So I got those skills through school. My dad's sister was also, on my dad's side of the family, they had those skills. Those were the kind of careers they pursued. So like my aunt's a florist and a baker, and my dad's mother also sewed and stuff like that. So it's something I was interested in, but also something that was kind of in the family as well. I was so obsessed with Kimora Lee Simmons growing up. Like that's who I wanted to be. She was a model, she was a fashion designer, and she had her own business, Baby Fat, which was her own fashion line. And so growing up, that was my ideal. That was what I wanted to reach for. That was how I wanted my life to be. But like I said, I grew up in Ghana, and so you had like your doctors and your lawyers and engineers. Those were the careers that tended to get more attention, and parents wanted their kids to do that. And so I went down that road. So in Ghana, when you get to high school, you pick like a track. It's not necessarily a major, but it's kind of a program basically. And the high school I went to an all-girl boarding school. The high school I went to had general science, general arts, business, home economics, and visual arts. And I ended up doing science there because my mom wanted me to be a doctor. And like I said, I realized very young that was what people liked, and people would praise you for those types of things, so I went with it. But very, very, very quickly, when I went to school, I realized that no, this was not the place I was meant to be. High school was for 3 years, and I struggled a lot most of those 3 years. It wasn't like I was not applying myself. Like, I was studying, I was doing everything I was supposed to do, but it was just so hard for me, you know. I was like, I know I'm not dumb. Like, I know I'm not dumb, so like, what's happening? But I was struggling most of the time, and I just felt so disappointed with myself, and I felt so low. I feel like high school was one of the most lowest I've been in my life. I haven't experienced anything like that ever since, but for the most part, now that I have the language and education to talk about it and understand it, I was definitely depressed back then, but I didn't know what depression was, and it wasn't something that we really talked about too as well, but I was definitely depressed. I just felt like I didn't really fit in, especially in the classroom. I couldn't really even see myself pursuing the career that I thought I was going to pursue. There was no other science that was calling out to me. The only thing that I did well in it and I really enjoyed was biology. So the way it worked was my core subjects were English, core math, social studies. What else did we do? And then integrated science, which was like foundation science. All of those I was fine in, I did well in. I really, really loved English and literature. I love literature, and I had such a great English teacher. High school I went to was a public high school, so we didn't do SATs. If you wanted to take the SATs, you had to do that on your own, versus some international schools that did SATs. So like I had mentioned, I was born in the US, so my mom had always let me know that college in the US was what I was going to do. So when the time got close, I started taking SAT prep classes and studying for the SATs. And that was also another very hectic time in my life because, like I said, my high school didn't do that. So I was still studying for the national exam, which would give you admission to universities in Ghana while studying for the SATs. And I remember the week I wrote as I left to take my SATs, when I came back to school, I had like midterms as well. Eventually, I moved to the US. I remember my flights. Like, I remember everything about that day. I remember what I was wearing. I remember the flight. And I came to the US in July of 2017. School started in August. My mom was the one who introduced us to journaling, my sister and I. She bought us notebooks when we were in middle school, and it was just a practice that I've always kept up with. So yeah, I was journaling. I journaled about how I wanted my dorm to look like. I journaled about the kind of activities I wanted to do. I journaled about the trips I wanted to take and everything. And I didn't know that, but that was me. I didn't know that at the time, but that was me prophesying into my own life, because literally I have lived everything I wrote about. I have lived everything and more that I wrote about. Like, most people come to school with families or like a parent or something like that. Like, that was not my experience. I moved myself into my dorm. I remember that day as well. I moved myself into my dorm. I was so fascinated on my campus. Like, I was just like, yes, God, a fresh slate. Nobody knows me here. I can be whatever I want to be. I can start all over again. And so I just told myself, like, I was here to make the most out of it and reinvent myself. I studied communications in undergrad. My undergrad was in Ohio. I studied communications in undergrad, not because I knew what I was doing, to be honest, but when I was when I was registering for classes, the academic advisor who was helping me pick classes was like, you know, you're so eloquent, and I had to do a presentation during orientation. She was like, you're so eloquent and you have really good oral communication skills. You should look into taking the introduction to communications class. So that was more so like my wild card class. The college I went to was a liberal arts school, and they encouraged us to always take classes that were not necessarily related to what we were here to study. But after that first class, I knew that that was where I was meant to be. I started working out my sophomore year, freshman year, but I was not consistent. My college had a gym, but I was not really consistent, you know. But I would go, but not consistently. And when I would go, I would probably only run on the treadmill or do a few aerobic exercises, but that was pretty much it. I eventually got consistent with the gym my junior year of college. At first, I went there because I got tired of, you know, the aunties and everybody commenting about my body and the like comparisons and things like that. So I went there not out of like my own will, but because I wanted to change the narrative around my body. Then eventually, I started to see the emotional and mental benefits of the gym before I started to see physical benefits. You know, I would just go there to think and release all the emotions. I would be crying on the treadmill, or if I was angry, I started to release that in weights. So I started lifting weights at some point, and there was this feeling of dropping. I used to slam weights. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I used to slam the weights around. But there was a feeling of dropping the weights down on the ground. That sensation started to feel really good to me. And so slowly, the gym became like a place of therapy, like releasing anger, frustration, and also a place of manifesting. Like the adrenaline, I would use that to think about, okay, when I graduate, I want to live this kind of life, or I want to have this kind of job, or I want to have this kind of money, and things like that. So I got consistent because, like I said, I started to see the emotional and mental health benefits. Then the physical benefits came. And when I mean physical, I mean I started to lose weight. I started to see it wasn't very drastic in the beginning, but I could see that this stuff was working. So again, it motivated me to keep going. COVID happened, and you know, my mom was like, you need to go to grad school. You're going to grad school. So I went with it. You don't really argue with my mom. Like I said, African household. So I applied to 2 schools. I applied to Boston University and Georgetown, and I got into both schools. And for me, I already felt like the undergrad I went to gave me quality education. Like that school really prepared me for so much going into grad school. It's a small private school. It's in the middle of nowhere, but the quality of education that I received, undefeated. So when I was picking a grad school, I needed something that was going to give me access, you know, if you get what I mean. I needed access to a network. I needed access to higher spaces. I needed a certain brand. And for me and what I wanted to do, Georgetown was the better option. So I picked Georgetown and over Boston University. So that's how I ended up here in DC. There's so much to do. It's a beautiful city. It's a tourist destination, so there's always going to be activities. But it's cleaner and less chaotic compared to a place like New York, for example. It's less hectic. The metro is so accessible. However, these rent prices, oh my God. I didn't necessarily study this specific stuff in school, like this editing videos and like figuring out analytics and things like that. I taught myself that because I was learning similar things in class, and you know, that interest opened up and I started to learn more outside of what I was learning in class. So for example, editing was something I taught myself during COVID. You know, everybody was picking up skills during COVID. I started with Canva, so I started making bookmarks on Canva, And then eventually I learned how to use the platform, and then I started making like graphics into making marketing deliverables for companies. Like I work part-time and I also freelance, and people are paying me monthly for skills I taught myself during COVID. That's what I need. For me, I am in a stage in my life where I've been going back to figuring out the things I used to enjoy as a child, and like fashion design has been coming back up like so much. I've been thinking about it so much. My inner child is like calling me like, babe, you can finally do this thing that you were not able to do before. Because I definitely got 2 degrees for my mother. She's going to watch this and be like, what do you mean? But I definitely did that for her. Like I said in the beginning, I wanted to go to fashion and design school, like culinary school. I'm only 23, so I could really do that if I wanted to. But I'm just figuring out my next steps, you know, one step at a time. Long-term life goals, I could definitely see myself owning my own fashion brand. Because of my degrees, I could also start my own agency. I do work for people, PR work, I do branding work for people, part-time and freelancing, so I have the skills. Everything I've experienced in the classroom and outside of the classroom literally points to me being an entrepreneur, literally. There is no doubt, I have no doubts about that. I don't need any other confirmation, I don't need any signs from God. Like, it's so obvious what I meant to do. And so I'm enjoying the ride. I'm very young, like I said, very early 20s. So I'm still enjoying the ride. Definitely I would move back home. Also, the creator economy back home is booming. Like Ghana is excelling, and more people are becoming, you know, are respecting creative jobs as reputable careers. People are making money off of creativity, and I'm a creative at heart. I've always been, always will be. I will die on this hill. And so yeah, I definitely want to be part of that. I definitely want to contribute to my own national development. I want to contribute to my nation being one of the greatest, and so I could definitely see myself moving back home. Yeah, I definitely think you guys can expect more from me. Keep me consistent and accountable. I definitely want to grow this platform. There's space for everybody to excel on the internet. Like I said, this is a passion of mine. This is not just some way to get money. I don't earn money from YouTube yet. It's coming. My favorite part of YouTube is editing. It takes forever and it's annoying sometimes, but it's my favorite part. It's my favorite part, and that's just how I know that, you know, I'm gonna be here for a long time. Because if you don't enjoy the process, listen, you're not going to last here in long, because editing is so annoying. It takes a long time, and you need to love it to be able to stick here. Yeah, someone asked me about traveling and how I got into traveling, because like I said, I've posted a few travel vlogs on here, but I post a lot more on my Instagram, hence why you should follow me there and also subscribe. Like, if you're at this point in the video and you haven't subscribed, please, we're going to stop and wait for you. Please subscribe. I'm waiting for you. Let us know when you are ready. You ready? Can I carry on? Now that you've subscribed and you're here to stay. Travel videos. Traveling is, I have an addiction, I'll be honest. I have an addiction to being in the airports, like being in the air. I just love it. And I blame my parents for that, honestly. My parents traveled a lot as a kid, when I was a kid. Not necessarily for leisure, but their jobs required them to travel. And they would be gone for days, weeks, you know. So that's how I also got into traveling. I've seen it so much that I think my brain thinks this is normal to be doing it because my parents did it. and I absolutely love it. I love traveling. I love seeing new places. It inspires me to work harder, make more money so I can travel some more. I definitely want to do some more traveling. I'm planning some trips for next year. I don't know if I'm gonna have any major trips coming up this year, but hey, listen, God can always provide, you know? Something can happen. But yeah, definitely have some trips, some international trips I'm planning for next year. I've been to Kenya. I grew up in Ghana obviously, but there are more African countries I want to visit. I've been to the UK, but I also want to see some more places in Europe. I've never been to Asia, so I definitely want to do that, at least one country next year. I've been to Latin America and I love it. You know, outside of Ghana, that's one of the places where I felt at home. I think more Black people need to explore Latin American countries. That's my opinion. I had to finish my makeup, the rest of my makeup, off camera because my camera died and I had to charge it really quickly so I could film the end. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and hopefully you feel like you know me a little bit better than what you already knew from my vlogs. I'm definitely going to do something with goal setting and achieving goals and manifesting. I'll also do something relating to schooling in the US and that process and my experience. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and I will see you at the next one. Goodbye.